we discussed a multi-phase clock is very useful in many applications, and the ring-based VCO is an easy way of generating the multi-phase. Unfortunately, the multi-phase does not come for free, and there is a trade-off with the number of the generated phases. Think about the delay images for 5 seconds. Correct. The design trade-offs are between the number of the output phases and oscillation frequency. For example, to get the n phases of the VCO output, you may need at least n stage delay cells. However, more delay cells lead to a lower oscillation frequency if the physical delay time of each delay cell is fixed. To break the design trade-off and boost the speed, do you have any way of shortening the delay? Think about the pre-charge images for 5 seconds. Bingo! From the simplest delay cell, an inverter, we know the PMOS could be slower than the NMOS in the old technology. Therefore, if we can make the PMOS pre-charge at a time earlier than the original time, then it's obvious that the period of the large one with the pre-charge is longer than the period without applying the pre-charge image. Interestingly, the pre-charge time is equivalent to adding a negative skew delay at the PMOS path compared to the NMOS path. Is it possible to implement a negative delay? Think about a ring connection image for 5 seconds. Great. If there's only one delay cell, it may not be easy to implement a negative delay over an advanced phase. However, the beauty of a ring oscillator is to self-maintain the phase spacing equally. Therefore, you could just connect to the advanced phase you like in a ring. For example, in this 5-stage ring oscillator, the phase spacing in each sequential delay cell is 72 degrees, which we can keep connecting the NMOS input to the previous output one by one. But for the PMOS, we should not do the same connection as the NMOS one. Otherwise, the delay would be also 72 degrees without any negative skew delay, right? How do we connect to the PMOS? Bingo! You can just connect to next 2 stages output to the current stage's PMOS input, such that the skew delay will be minus 144 degrees equally. So, from the waveform of the timing diagram, the transition time of the negative skew at both rising and falling edge is much shorter than the conventional delay cell. To be clear, the PMOS was connected to the negative delay cell. So the input arrived at the PMOS input earlier than the NMOS, so that the PMOS could be turned on earlier, which matches our pre-charge image to boost the PMOS speed at the output from the low to high greatly. On the other hand, the PMOS is already turned off before the NMOS is turned on, such that the falling edge transition time at the output from high to low is also reduced. Again, the overall speed of a ring oscillator can be boosted than the traditional ring oscillator. Unfortunately, this asymmetric connection between the PMOS and NMOS might not result in a compact layout. So the actual routing passive capacitance may reduce the speed a little. What can we do? Correct. Keeping this symmetric connection between the PMOS and NMOS may help the layout compact Therefore, you can just apply a similar negative delay connection by adding an extra feedforward delay cell and connecting it by one extra phase earlier than the previous delay cell. Since the feedforward delay cells are added in a ring configuration, the feedforward path is also equivalent to the sub-feedback loop, which could be considered as an interpreted inverter image to boost the oscillation frequency through the symmetric arrangement to maintain the optimal phases and reduce the delay time between stages. Is the feedforward concept clear to you? If not, think about the dual paths again for 5 seconds. Great. You can separate the dual path as the direct delay path and feedforward delay path images. The direct delay path should be a 5-stage ring configuration, so we can call it a slow path. On the other hand, the feedforward delay path can be identified in the 3-stage ring configuration, so we can call it a fast path. Therefore, the oscillation frequency is weighted by the 5-stage ring and 3-stage ring configuration, which also means the oscillation phases was interpreted through the dual path inverters. The oscillation speed should be bounded between the 5-stage and 3-stage ring oscillator, but the output phases can be up to 5. So, either the negative skew over feedforward delay concept remove the design trade-offs between the number of output phases and oscillation frequency. But the example is an odd number of output phases. How do we get an even number of output phases? Think about a differential delay cell image for 5 seconds. Correct. You can put a differential delay cell in a ring configuration, but revise one extra cross couple at one stage to satisfy the Barkhausen oscillation criterion. Alright, how to add the feedforward path here? Can we simply do the same thing by connecting the output feedforward node here? Of course not. If we do that, that added feedforward path would break Barkhausen criterion in the even number of delay cells, and it don't oscillate at all. So, what can we do? Think about the phase interpolation images for 5 seconds. Bingo! To interpret the phase properly, we must add a second input path over additional input differential pair to remove the possibly wrong interpreted phase stuck in the latch step. In this example, another PMOS differential input pair can be used as the input of the feedforward path. Then, we can connect to the feedforward path to the 2-stage delay cell earlier shown here. Again, there are lots of different delay cells that can be applied, and different connections need to be adjusted accordingly. Here are a few summaries why you may want a negative skew over feedforward delay cells applied to a ring-based VCO. You should have learned a ring-based VCO can easily generate precise multi-phase clocking, which is very useful in lots of applications. However, there are design trade-offs between the number of output phases and the oscillation frequency. In other words, the ring-based VCO may achieve your target frequencies, but may still not provide you with enough of the output phases. On the other hand, you may need a certain number of output phases in your application, but your design read-based VCO is not fast enough to meet your required clock frequency. Fortunately, you have a flexible connection in a ring configuration such that a negative skew delay can be implemented to boost the oscillation frequency without reducing the output phase. Dr. Lee proposed the negative skew connection to compensate for the PMOS slow transition time compared to the NMOS one. To increase the speed further, a compact layout is a must without adding the passive capacitance overhead. Similarly, a feedforward delay cell can be added to interpret a pre-charge phase which has a negative skew concept as well. Take our example in an odd number of a phase generation. With a main 5-stage ring oscillator with a feedforward 3-stage ring configuration, the oscillation frequency can be bounded or interpreted between the frequency of the 5-stage and 3-stage ring oscillator intuitively. Another 8-phase generation example is an even number, also shows you the feedforward delay cell can boost the oscillation frequency if the dual input delay cell is implemented. Hopefully, those examples show you either the needed 5-phase or 8-phase clocking. We still can increase its oscillation frequency without reducing the number of output phases by added negative skew or feedforward delay cell with a steady power and area overhead. Thanks for watching. Before you go, if you are benefiting from those circuit images, I would love to hear your feedback, and please share your comments down below. Lastly, please share the video link with the people who may be benefit from it.